Hey there, Harry Potter fans. Welcome back to the page. We are continuing on with Backward with Purpose, Part 1, Always and Always by Dead Woodpecker. We've got Chapter 23 laid out for you, The Best Laid Plans.
Chapter 23 The Best Laid Plans. Chapter Text. On the 23rd of June, Harry found himself walking with Neville toward the greenhouses. There was an air of subtle excitement around the school, and the topic on everyone's lips was the final task. After his rather stunning performance in the lake, Harry was in the lead. He was pleased by this, of course, not because of the accolades, but because he would have a head start in the maze. Still, Harry found himself almost wishing that he did not know what was going to happen. The knowledge of Voldemort's return was a heavy burden, and it grew heavier with each passing day. So when Neville had asked if he wanted to join him at the greenhouses, Harry had seized the opportunity to escape his own thoughts. "Hi, Professor Sprout," Neville said when the door to the greenhouse opened. "Need some help with the plants?" Professor Sprout smiled. "Of course, Neville. And Harry's here too? I have some flaming roses that need pruning. You can show Harry how to do that." "Thanks, Professor," Harry and Neville chorused. Harry had never seen the flaming roses. Each year had introduced them to new plants, but they were generally of the more useful but deadly variety. Neville led him to the smaller greenhouse behind Greenhouse 3. Harry suspected that this was where Professor Sprout did her own researches in magical flora. The students never found themselves here. "What's that vine thing?" Harry asked, pointing at a climbing vine that had blossoms in a dizzying array of colors. The way the colors were arranged, it sort of reminded him of the sky at sunset. "Sky vine," Neville said enthusiastically. "They're at sunset right now, but the colors of the blossoms will change to midnight blue. Some will even develop white spots that look like stars, and then it'll be sunrise and daytime. It takes about 2 hours for the process. You might even be able to watch it. It's looking really healthy, too. You really like plants, don't you?" Harry asked, amused. "Yeah," Neville said. "Come on, the flaming roses are this way." The greenhouse was much larger on the inside than on the outside. So much so that Harry was positive that it was under an enchantment. He could not put a name to any of the plants, though the aroma was wonderful. He could not help but stare around in wonder. "Here they are," Neville said, "right around the night-blooming gardenias." When Harry caught sight of the roses, his first thought was of Ginny. They were huge, far larger than any Muggle roses that he had ever seen. They were a bright, rich red that seemed almost too vivid to be real. But that was not the most unique thing about them. Little tongues of flame darted among the petals. They looked like fairies or fireflies. It made him think of Ginny's hair. "So how do we do this?" Harry asked when Neville handed him a pair of pruning shears. He eyed the bushes somewhat warily. "Beautiful they may be, but they might also be dangerous." "Just watch me at first," Neville said. "See the blossoms that look a bit fierier than the others? Those are the ones you want to get. Watch." He cut one of the blossoms nearest to him, and Harry jumped when all the other roses lit up. The head of the rose fell, and Neville swiftly caught it in a glass bucket. "Professor Sprout likes to save them," Neville explained, "and wooden buckets wouldn't hold it. See how it's still burning? They'll burn like that for a month." Harry watched as Neville cut decisively. When he was satisfied that he could tell which roses needed to be pruned, he joined in. It was satisfying work, and Harry was able to lose himself in it. Ginny would like these, he thought. I'll have to purchase some for her. Maybe Professor Sprout would be willing to sell them. "Harry," Neville said tentatively, Was it really almost me?" Harry knew exactly what the other boy was asking. "Yes," Harry said. "The prophecy stated that the boy was to be born at the end of July. That could have been you or me. I don't know really why he chose me." Neville looked over at him with wide and fearful eyes. I don't think I could have done it. I'm not really. I think I'd be too afraid." "Is this where you start being insecure again?" Harry asked. "You're helping me. You're preparing to fight with me. When are you going to realize that you were placed in Gryffindor for a damn good reason?" "Why, stop being so scared," Neville said after a moment. Another rose landed in the glass bucket. "You honestly don't think I'm scared?" Harry said incredulously. "Neville, I'm terrified that I'm going to lose everyone. Yeah, I may not worry too much about Voldemort will do to me, but I'm dead afraid of what he'll do to you and everyone else I love. You saw my boggart. But you're doing it anyway, Neville said. Again, because I have to, Harry said. But you and Ginny, Ron, Hermione, and Luna, you're the brave ones. You didn't run away screaming when we told you the truth. This is my destiny, to defeat Voldemort. It isn't yours. You could walk away right now. Neville stared at him. You said you needed me. I do, Harry said promptly. I need all the help I can get, but I'm not going to force you into it. You're not forcing me into anything, Neville said indignantly. I want to help you. I'm going to. Did you just hear yourself? Harry asked. You know the dangers, right? Yes, Neville said. And you think it's worth fighting anyway? Harry pressed. Of course, Neville said. But I'm still afraid. Sometimes I have nightmares. I have nightmares practically every night, Harry informed him. But you haven't given in to them, have you? You're still preparing for a war you don't have to fight in, right? You're afraid, but you aren't going to let that stop you. Neville, if that isn't the definition of courage, I don't know what is. Having this conversation with Neville had obviously been just what the other boy had needed. Neville had been mostly silent for the rest of the time in the greenhouse, but Harry could tell that it was a thoughtful silence. He watched as Neville took a good look inside himself and realized that what Harry had told him was true. There was a new light on his face and a new purpose to his step when they finally left, receiving much gratitude from Professor Sprout as they did so. But Harry also realized later that Neville had not been the only one to come away from the greenhouse with something. Neville had needed to hear the words, but Harry had needed to say them. The knot in his belly that had grown steadily over the last month had eased a little, and he was not quite so fearful of what may come about due to his actions on the morrow. Ginny and Hermione noticed this straight away. You boys have fun? Hermione asked, amused, when Harry and Neville clambered into the common room. Neville was covered in dirt, and his robes were singed. Harry doubted that he looked much better. We did, Harry said, but I think we both need a wash. 10 minutes later, and feeling much cleaner, Harry rejoined the girls. Where's Ron? He asked. He's still recovering from the history of magic exam we had this morning, Hermione said. Comfort eating, Ginny added. How are you doing? Better, Harry told her. He threw himself in the empty armchair across from her. And not just because I had a shower. I think I'm ready for the task tomorrow. He took a deep breath. I'm as ready as I can be, at least. Muffliato, Hermione said. There, we can talk freely. This really is a useful spell, Harry. I wish you didn't have to do it alone, Ginny whispered. I don't like it. Neither do I, Hermione said. This year has flown by, hasn't it? It seems like it was just yesterday that I was badgering you to tell me everything. And the Yule Ball was last night, and the second task was this morning. Feels that way to me, too, Harry admitted. I thought it would last forever. It's hard to believe that almost 4 years have gone by since we've been back. The twins caused a slight diversion by entering the common room in high spirits and speeding off to their dormitory after throwing a wave in their direction. Harry waved back. He had a very good idea why they were so happy, and he suspected that the owl from Gringotts carrying a money bag full of galleons, supposedly from Ludo Bagman, making good on his debt, was the reason. They're certainly happy, Ginny said, amused. They finally got their money from Bagman, Harry said easily. I'm sure they're upstairs making plans for a joke shop. From Bagman? Hermione said dryly. Are you going to tell them it was you? Not now, Harry said evasively. But yes, eventually. Ron joined the three of them minutes later, skillfully and purposefully, set about distracting Harry from what was coming tomorrow. Neville joined in, and Harry, who was willing to not think about it for the remainder of the evening, allowed himself to think of Quidditch, house elves, and Zonkos with a great sense of relief. Luna wandered in behind a few first years. The other Gryffindors, so used to having this particular Ravenclaw in their midst, ignored her. When 10 o'clock came and went, Hermione pulled something from her bag. I got this for you, Harry, she said. I thought you might need it. It's a sleep potion. Harry, whose nerves still felt frayed around the edges, accepted it gratefully. Thanks, he said. He immediately drank it. Harry, no, Hermione cried. You weren't supposed to. You were supposed to wait until you were in bed. Harry started to ask her why, but at that moment he felt a wonderful, floating sensation. "Ah," he said. His eyes suddenly felt quite heavy, and he narrowed them, blinking often. "The ish is nice." Someone laughed. "I think he might need some help getting to bed," Ginny said. Harry wondered if she was offering, but with a mild sinking feeling, he realized that he was simply too tired to give her what she wanted. Too tired for that. Ron snorted, but it sounded very far away. Harry's ears had obviously been stuffed with cotton. The lights in the common room danced and swirled. He watched them for a while, but there was a sparkling darkness behind his eyes that made it difficult to do. He found himself lifted bodily off the armchair. He suspected that Ron and Neville were the ones who were half carrying, half dragging him to Harry's bed. Harry did not even have the energy to argue with them, to tell them that he could do it himself. "Good night, Harry," Ginny said. "Bright eyes," he murmured before he fell asleep between one blink and the next. Harry was the first into the maze, by virtue of the fact that he was in the clear lead. Twilight was falling, and it seemed a long time ago that he had walked the grounds with Sirius, Remus, and Tonks. It had only been a few hours since then, but it was the difference between staring at the road he now must tread and actually being on it. Time was dwindling away. Heart hammering inside his chest, he did the 4-point spell and chose the path that led to the right. He wondered if Crouch would still be patrolling the outside of the maze, ensuring that he did not meet with anything too difficult, but he might have been impressed by the ease with which Harry had passed the first 2 tasks. He wished he could blast his way through the hedges and head straight for the cup, but that was impossible. They were enchanted to be more solid than stone walls. His scar gave a vicious twinge at almost the exact moment a giant acromantula jumped in front of his path. Distracted for a moment by the pain, it was almost upon Harry before he moved. He jerked his wand upward, thinking Levi Corpus as hard as he could. The spider flew up, clearing the hedges. Harry aimed his wand at the soft underbelly and yelled Reducto. The spider exploded, spraying smelly bits all over him. Harry kept his wand out, certain now that Crouch had not underestimated him. He came to the next divergence in the path. He poked his head around the corner and saw one of Hagrid's blast-ended Scroots. Deciding to use one of the new spells in his arsenal, he did not want to get too close to the stinger. He shouted, Zimlata, and the magical beast was sucked down into the earth. He waited until the ground stopped churning and shuddering and continued onward. He destroyed 2 other acromantulas, but took several wrong turnings and found himself back where he had destroyed the Scroot. Shaking his head with irritation, he did the 4-point spell again and went straight ahead. He could hear other shouts and bangs and knew that he had almost lost his lead. He was running now. Something reached out and gripped him around the ankle, pulling him toward the hedge. He fell hard, barely managing to keep hold of his wand, and slammed his chin on the ground. Eyes watering from the pain, he twisted around to see what had got hold of him. It was a plant, Devil's Snare. He sent fire at it, stood up, and brushed himself off. Cedric Diggory came thundering past him, and without a thought, Harry tore off after him. But Cedric's legs were longer than his, and when he rounded the corner and found another divergence, Harry could not tell which way he had gone. Fleur screamed somewhere off to the right, and Harry stood rooted on the spot. If Krum was using the Cruciatus Curse on her, shaking his head, he forced himself to ignore it. Cedric could not be allowed to take the cup. Hoping that Cedric would be waylaid, Harry ran to the left. Another blast-ended Scroot was swallowed into the earth, and Harry felt the world turn upside down when he sprinted straight through the golden mist. Spider, he shouted at the Sphinx before she could even open her mouth. She stepped aside. A large scuttling thing with 100 legs and nasty-looking fangs. One of Hagrid's creatures, Harry thought, met him around the next corner. Harry hit it with a Sectum Sempra, but missed its head. Harry rolled, but one of the fangs pierced his left arm. Hope it isn't poisonous, Harry thought grimly, before he blew the creature up. He staggered a little when he rose, and his shoulder bled freely. I really need to learn some healing spells, Harry thought. He used the 4-point spell again. He started to take the left path again, but heard Cedric shouting with pain from the right. Harry checked himself and tore off, following the cries. Stupefied, Harry shouted. Krum immediately fell over. Cedric scrambled to his feet. He was using the Cruciatus curse on me. He was Imperius, Harry said shortly. How do you know? Cedric asked. I saw his eyes, Harry lied. Cedric did not believe him. I can't believe you're defending him, Potter. His face was twisted in an ugly grimace. Who would have Imperiused him? Fleur's already out of the maze. I saw the red sparks. Cedric, Harry began, but Cedric took off away from him at full speed. Harry chased him, grimly determined that Cedric would not get away from him again. Panic made him move faster than he ever had before in this short, 14-year-old body. Damn it, Cedric, he shouted. Stay away from me. Cedric called over his shoulder. Harry was still far behind him, but gaining when he turned a corner. Harry swerved around it and saw. The cup was just ahead, and there was no way that Harry could overtake Cedric in time. Stupefied, Harry bellowed. There was a flash of red light, and Cedric crumpled to the ground. Harry had no time to feel relieved when another giant spider crashed down almost directly on top of him and sent him sprawling, his wand flying a few feet away. Harry felt a flash of pain on his leg, and, ignoring it, Harry dove for his wand. Reducto! He screamed, and not pausing to watch the spider explode, he hurtled to his feet and ran. Cedric was also on his feet. He was not sprinting as fast as Harry was, but he was closer to the cup. No! Harry shouted. He seemed to be flying. He watched with horror as Cedric reached out, and Harry's hand grasped the cup at the same instant as Cedric's, and they both hurtled away toward the graveyard, to where Cedric might die unless Harry was very quick. He slammed to the ground beside Cedric, and nearly fainted from the pain in his leg and shoulder. Gasping, he staggered his feet. Touch the cup, Cedric, Harry said. He pointed his wand at the other boy. What the hell is going on? Cedric asked. Get out of here. Harry roared. Touch the effing cup. Cedric looked both confused and furious. Did you know this was going to happen? Yes. Now, get out of here. Or do you want to die? You're going to kill. Imperio, Harry said. Cedric's eyes glazed over, though Harry immediately knew that Cedric's mind was not nearly as weak as Pettigrew's. Harry broke out into a sweat. Pettigrew was going to join them at any moment. Cedric had to be gone before he even saw that he was there. Cedric made jerky movements to the cup. Take the cup, take the cup, take the cup. Harry thought as hard as he could. They had seconds left. Cedric's hand grasped the handle, and he disappeared. Harry had no time to be relieved. No sooner had Cedric returned to Hogwarts than he heard the faint sound of Pettigrew making his way toward him. The lunch he had eaten hours before churned in his stomach. Pettigrew's footsteps grew closer. He could see him. He was now only 5 feet away. Harry forced himself to remain passive, even though every instinct he had screamed at him to kill this man. He desperately wanted to do it, but the part of his brain that was cold and logical remained in firm control. This has to happen. This must happen. This has to happen. The refrain echoed through his brain when Pettigrew took his wand, when he heard Voldemort's high, cold voice, and when he was tied to the stone. This has to happen. This must happen. This has to happen. They were saying things, but Harry ignored them. Their voices grated sharply on his nerves, and he clenched his fists until the palms of his hands stung. Harry forced himself to watch as Pettigrew completed the spell, including cutting off his own hand, and Voldemort returned again. Hatred welled up inside him, but Voldemort was now calling his Death Eaters to him, and Harry must pay close attention. He must make sure that none of them spoke of the prophecy. And if they did, Harry must be prepared. The Death Eaters apparat into the graveyard where the bones of Voldemort's father were laid to rest. They were like menacing, black shadows, so subservient to Voldemort that they might as well have been a part of him. Lucius Malfoy, Crabbe, Goyle, Avery, Amicus, and Electo Carrow, not McNair, one by one, they knelt and kissed the hem of Voldemort's robes. Harry watched, wishing he could kill them all right here, right now. But he could not do anything. So he watched as Voldemort described to his followers how he had survived, how he had waited for them to come to him. Harry listened closely. Voldemort said the exact same thing he had before. The ripple effect hadn't changed that much. The Death Eaters were held spellbound, listening as closely as Harry, though they were awestruck, not disgusted. "And you, Severus," Voldemort said softly. "I confess myself surprised to see you here at all. I thought you long lost to that champion of filth, Albus Dumbledore." "Never, my lord," Snape said harshly. "Crucio," he yelled. Snape cried out in pain and writhed on the ground. Harry forced himself to watch. Snape was doing this for Harry's mother. He was enduring this because he had loved Lily Evans so much, and for so long that he was willing to sacrifice everything to keep Harry safe, and to help Harry defeat Voldemort. The least he could do was watch. "I have spied on Dumbledore," Snape said, "for these long years. For you, my lord." Voldemort raised his wand again, and Harry did the only thing he could do. He tried to push the black rag that Wormtail had shoved in his mouth. His scar burned fiercely, and Voldemort felt a cold rage towards Snape that generally preceded murder. He had no idea what he could say, but he could not allow Snape to die. He spat and worked at it. Little by little, it wriggled loose. He used his tongue to push it. "You have thwarted me at every turn, Severus." Voldemort's mild tone belied his black rage. Harry's heart pounded. "It was you who kept a close eye on Quirrell. Do not think my memory so short that I have forgotten." "Crucio." Voldemort watched in silence as Snape screamed. The rag was almost out his mouth. Harry felt himself panicking. Voldemort was going to kill him. Harry knew it. He felt it through his scar. He was only playing with him now. And then a thought struck him so suddenly that it was almost as if someone had shouted it in his ear. The article. Umbridge had written it. Harry knew it. The Death Eaters surely had no idea. Umbridge was not a Death Eater. And Snape was the best of liars. The rag fell to the ground atop Tom Riddle's disturbed grave. "Snape, you filthy traitor!" he shouted. "I knew it. I've known it since I found out you wrote that article. Would that Dumbledore, would that he hadn't trusted you. I told him." The Death Eaters that stood beside the graves and the yew trees stirred and murmured. Snape kept his head bowed. "Follow my lead. Follow my lead," Harry urged him silently. "Do it, do it, do it." "What's this?" Voldemort hissed. There was a long pause while Snape panted. I knew that you would return, my lord. I wrote an article long ago that would serve to turn the wizarding world against Harry Potter. And they have, just like I planned. Even Dumbledore does not fully trust Potter." Harry had the pleasure of seeing Voldemort surprised. "You bastard!" Harry yelled. "My lord." Lucius Malfoy stepped forward. "I too have had that aim. Harry Potter is considered a menace. The Ministry does not trust him. My son Draco has told me that even the parents of his little friends hate him." "I did not know you had Quirrell under your control," Snape said. If I had, you would have returned to power 3 years ago. I swear, my lord. I am your servant. I hate Dumbledore, but I have kept myself close to him, as I thought you would wish me to. Forgive me. Forgive me for being wrong." "Stand up, Severus," Voldemort said coldly. Harry held his breath. "He is telling the truth," he said to the watching Death Eaters. "It was good of you to have done this. Unfortunately, it was for naught. Harry Potter will end tonight. His death will be a gift I give myself and my own rebirthing party. Think again, Tom Riddle." "No," Harry shouted, mostly because he felt like he had to say something. Voldemort laughed a high, cold laugh. He gave his full attention now to Harry. He stroked his wand with long, spidery fingers. "No," he said softly. "Your mother is dead. Your father is dead. There is no one here tonight that would extend himself or herself to give you the time of day, let alone die for you." He flicked his wand, and Harry crashed to the ground. "Give him his wand, Wormtail." His wand was jammed into his hand, and he was roughly pulled to his feet by the man who had betrayed his parents. He gathered his thoughts, grimly satisfied that his obfuscamancy shields were tightly in place, as they had been for over a year. Even if Voldemort did something unexpected, Harry's mind would not betray him. Harry went through the motions of the mock duel. He endured the white-hot pain of the Cruciatus Curse. He stumbled again to his feet. Voldemort said, "The niceties must be observed." This time, Harry bowed mockingly. The moment was nearly upon him. "Watch," Voldemort ordered his Death Eaters. "Watch as I prove that no little boy could match my power." Avada Kedavra, Expelliarmus. The spells collided in the middle. Harry focused all his attention upon it. The beads of light appeared, and they immediately began to move toward Voldemort's wand. Voldemort was shouting at his Death Eaters to do nothing. Harry's wand jerked and vibrated at the same moment that the first bead of light connected with Voldemort's wand. Screams of pain, Snape's screams, came out of the wand first. But Harry didn't listen to it. Instead, he listened to the Phoenix song. Even now, it filled him with courage and the strength to keep holding his wand. The old muggle, Frank Bryce, squeezed out of the other wand and dropped to the ground. You show him, boy. Killed me, he did. But you'll show him. The shadowy figure of a woman toppled out next. Harry thought it was Bertha Jorkins. He watched as she pushed her long hair out of her face, and Harry recognized his mother. She came toward him and said in a low, echoing voice, "We're so proud of you. Harry, you know what to do. Wait for your father. He wants to see you." James Potter was already getting to his feet. As soon as he was close enough to speak without Voldemort hearing, he said, "As soon as you break the connection, apparate to Godric's Hollow. Wait for Sirius there." Harry nodded fiercely, accepting this without question. "Now," he cried. He broke the connection, and the shades of Frank Bryce and his parents flew to Voldemort. Harry spun on the spot, and, thinking with all his might of Sirius Kitchen, he disapparated. Once the feeling of being pulled through a tube vanished, and he had checked to make sure that he was in Sirius' home at Godric's Hollow, he sank to the floor. His entire body felt weak, and he was shaking uncontrollably. His leg and arm still bled, though it was slowing, and only a few scarlet drops fell to the floor. "Accio towel," Harry said wearily. It zoomed toward him, and he dabbed his leg and arm with it. He was almost too tired to think straight. He wanted to go back to Hogwarts, to let Dumbledore know that Voldemort had indeed returned. He must have sat for 10 minutes, or maybe even half an hour, debating whether or not he should return. But his father had said, "Crack, good, you're here," Snape said. He was very pale and shaking. He looked how Harry felt. Harry thought it might have been due to the Cruciatus Curse. He knelt down, pulled the towel from Harry's limp grasp, and used his wand to heal Harry's wounds. It would have looked very suspicious if you had apparat near Hogwarts. "Thanks," Harry said quietly. "Don't thank me," Snape said. "It's not even remotely difficult to heal minor cuts." Harry raised his brows. "I didn't mean the healing." "You saved my life," Snape said, "although I do not know if that mad plan of yours will hold." "You are certain that it was Umbridge that wrote the article?" "Yes," Harry said. "He was going to kill you. I had to do something. I'm just glad you went along with it." "You would have lost a spy," Snape said. "The Dark Lord, after your disappearance, dispatched me to return to Hogwarts with all haste. I believe he is not as displeased with me as he was. He believes that he can use the wide distrust against you to his advantage." "I know," Harry said. His scar and the Horcrux inside him had sensed the cunning beneath the rage, and he suddenly felt very uncomfortable. "I didn't do it because I was afraid of losing a spy, Snape. I know why you turned against him, you know. You, love her more than you hated him. That means something to me." Snape did not answer, though Harry was grateful that he did not fly into a rage as he had when Harry had once viewed his worst memories without permission. "I have to leave," Snape said finally. "I judge it best that you remain here for the time being, until we figure out a way to get you back without it seeming like you did magic beyond your years. I will tell Dumbledore where you are." Harry nodded, though he had planned to listen to his father and wait for Sirius to come to him. Without another word, Snape disapparated with a loud pop, and Harry was alone once more. Harry wandered out of the kitchen and into the sitting room. The house that Sirius had bought with the Ministry's blood money was far larger than his parents' house, yet it was still a home. Harry felt safer here than he did even at Hogwarts. No one could come here unless he trusted them. He threw himself down on the couch, yawning, though he resolved to stay awake. But the minutes ticked by. Snape surely had had enough time to tell Dumbledore where he was. Why was it taking them so long to figure it out? As time passed, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, their silence became more and more ominous. It was long after midnight, and Harry was restlessly pacing the floor. The weight was almost unbearable. His feet itched to turn on the spot and take him to Hogwarts, where he could swiftly find the answers he sought. But his father's warning echoed in his ears, and he forced himself to stay put. Harry cried out when Dumbledore's Patronus resolved itself into a phoenix. "Do not come to Hogwarts. You will be arrested. Ministry watching."